Here is another example of God's provision and poverty. I was talking to a friend of mine and found out that he was actually going on a kind of combination mission trip and ministry school over the summer. And he was doing fundraising because it was going to cost $10,000. And I wanted to contribute something, but I don't even know if I had a couple dollars. Like I think that's about what I had, and it's just like, well, that's not going to cut it. I may have had less than that. I can't remember. And so I prayed, and I said, I think this was a Thursday night. I prayed and I said, all right, God, I want to give something, but I don't have anything to give. Well, so about 24 hours later, I was downtown doing street ministry and had left. The bars closed, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I got home probably about 2:30, 2:45. And then I felt like God was nudging me to go back downtown again. And it's like, it's late. I don't want to go downtown again. Well, this is God's grace. Why are we willing to obey? Like a true word from the Lord, if God is really speaking to you, he ponies up the grace to enable you to rightly respond to him. And so I was willing to believe it. I was willing to believe that God was speaking to me. And so I went back downtown again. I made an assumption. I was not thinking about money. I was thinking that God was going to give me something to eat or something. I don't know. And so I'm just walking around, really don't have any idea what I'm looking for. And as I'm crossing a street, I look down and I see a bill. And I thought I saw a 1 and a 0, and so it looked like maybe I thought it was a $10 bill. Well, I walk closer to it and I realize it's one of those fancy new $100 bills with a little fancy thing in the middle of it. The little reflective strip or whatever. And I was just stunned, right in the middle of the street at about 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, what's the likelihood that you would find such a thing? I knew because I had always have prayed for God to put money in my path, because he knows that there have been times when I found money and then I just give it to somebody else. And so me praying for money is not about me retiring or me exalting my kingdom. Me praying for money is because I know that God can use it. And, he can answer that prayer or not answer that prayer according to his will. And so I knew that I had been praying for provision. I knew that I had prayed for God to put money in my path. But I again had just a very small amount of money to my name. And I just started thinking to myself, wow, like I could, I could buy groceries, I could buy this, I could buy that, I could buy some supplies, whatever. And so I'm just trying to pray and ask God, like, what is it that you want me to do? And then I remembered the prayer about 24 hours later, God, give me something to give. And it's like, in some sense, like, to somebody who doesn't have very much money, like, that's a little bit of a bitter pill. It's like, dang, I could go out to eat. Like, I could do all this stuff. But I was just, the more I thought about it, and again, it's a mechanism of God's grace. The more that I thought about it, I realized this was for my friend, Jesus. And so then it turns out $100 is 1% of 10,000. And so then I asked him to meet me Saturday. I don't know if it was the morning or afternoon or something. And so we met, and I gave him the $100 bill, and we laid our fingers. Kind of hard to lay your hands on such a small thing. But we laid our fingers on the $100 bill, and we asked for God to multiply it. And I said, God, if you can take 0 and make it 100, like what kind of multiplication can you do with 100? If you can do a multiplication by 0 and get 100, wow, what can you do with 100? Well, then it turns out that God, He had already raised a little bit of money, some money by that point, but God ended up giving him the rest of the money that he needed to be able to go on the trip. And so it's an example of the privilege of being able to give in poverty, and just because you don't have very much doesn't mean that you can't give. And we do well, I would do well, to remember Jesus' admonition where the apostles are quoting him in the book of Acts and says, remember what the Lord said, it's more blessed to give than to receive.